There we go.
I suppose that answers that question.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Good evening, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Festivus for the rest of you. Uh, we've got a banger of a final lineup for the
Yeah.
2025 whiskey Advent tastings, including three Kensington Wine Market casks to wrap things up.
Mhm.
What else have we got? Well, I mean, we shouldn't say too much. I mean, people probably at this point have already dabbled, I would guess, have a sense of what we're about to try tonight, but maybe there's a few of them who haven't, so we shouldn't spoil all
Hmm.
the surprises. We've got a pretty good turnout so far for, the post-Christmas rush. Uh, Maybe there'll be a couple of stragglers. So while we're waiting for them to log in, let's quickly share upcoming events. I'm going to update some of these next week, I guess, is tomorrow. Um, Come on, share. There we go. We've got Richard Urquhart from Gordon MacPhail coming on Tuesday, January 13th to feature some of our newest casts that are arriving or expected to arrive around and sorry, I just got to let a couple more people in, arrive around the 13th. We've got a Glenbergie 2003, which is super waxy and uncharacteristically Gordon MacPhail. I believe it's first fill bourbon. Yeah, bourbon
Yeah.
barrel. And it's like very creamy. It's a really cool side of uh, Glenbergie that we maybe don't see very often anymore. And of course, Gordon MacPhail cast, another Milton Duff, first fill Sherry Hoggy. There I am squinting at the screen for those of you following on the bingo card. The next night, I think this is almost sold out. We added the last four tickets. Emiko Kaji from Nika is coming for a deconstruction of the Nika from the barrel. What we can't tell you in that is that there's a couple of pre-production samples she's bringing with her just to make the tasting a little extra special. So that's coming up on Wednesday, January 14th. And then there's our whiff. I think I'm going to add an H in there. Evan, I don't know why we didn't put an H in the first place because that's spelling it properly as a get a whiff of something, which is
Yeah.
purely coincidental. It was just the trying to find a good name for a fundraiser whiskey festival tasting. What I can tell you right now, we'll put some more description up and a better photo this week. We've got Bryce Simpson from Ardbeg. We have Gordon Dundas from Glengoyne Tamdu.
Rosebank.
Amiko Kaji is sticking around from Nika Yoichi Miyagikyo for the event. We've got Karina Mayer from Michter's, and there's going to be some like cool Michter's bottlings available that night. Don't want to say what, but something that we would often feature in a ballot because the idea of this is to be a kind of a little bit more special tasting. I can't remember who else is going to be there. The guy from Living Souls, Callum something or other. So there's going to be some really cool pours that night. Proceeds are to charity. We're hoping to get to 80 people, which will allow us to give back at least $8,000 to the Brenda Strafford Foundation, which is a women's shelter, and the Calgary Food Bank. And on top of that, we're going to be giving away Cut Crystal MS Society glasses, which we have bought. They're surplus glasses from the MS Society. So from everyone who comes, $25 will be going to the MS Society. So a lot of good to be done that night. And if that is out of your price range, then it's totally fair if it is. The Burns Bash is the next Friday, Friday, January 23rd, and it will be a Bonnie evening as well. But I think I bought enough time for at least another almost 10 people to join us. Evan, shall we get started for the final Advent tasting of 2025?
Yeah. Crack open the 21st.
All right.
Going back in time here. Going
Bottom
back in
left
time if you're
corner
doing them,
or right corner.
yeah. So if you were doing this in real time, on the days of Advent, this is going back 7 days now, week.
Yeah. Bridgeland, Tabor Corn, KWM Cask Bourbon. Obviously bourbon with an E. Um, but Evan, tell us a little bit about this whiskey because this is
Yeah.
quite special. Oh,
Yeah. So this is uh there's been a couple times where the crew at Bridgeland Distillery have uh, tried very hard to get us to come down to their distillery, which honestly isn't that far away from Kensington Wine Market. It's about a 5-minute drive. from Kensington into Bridgeland. Really cool place. If you haven't been there, they have a great cocktail program as well. But you can see the still set up and everything if you get there as well. So definitely take a visit if you can. Uh, we've been fortunate enough when we've gone there to try some cast samples and check stuff out and so on and so forth. They invited a couple of us down. This would have been back in, was it April or May of 25? And
That sounds about right.
Andrew couldn't make it. So Harmony and I went, and they tried us on a few things, and they tried us on this cask. Just saying, yeah, we've got some of our bourbon is at 5 years old. So this is a 5-year-old cask. Um, Harmony and I both tried it. Thought it was fantastic. Uh, got a sample to take back with us for Andrew to try as well. And originally we were thinking, well, maybe and we were talking, spitballing with them, saying like maybe we could do 100 bottles or something. We've done a couple or a small run of a single cask like that with their wheat whiskey before. Thought maybe we could just do that. And then Andrew tried and he's like, no, let's get the whole thing. And I'm happy he did. It is fantastic stuff. The timing was perfect because of the tariff issues that we were facing at the time. It wasn't looking like we are going to see a lot of bourbon coming in, and we, like a lot of other people, were looking for alternatives, especially myself as a bourbon lover and Harmony as well. And we were floored, and are still floored with how good this one is. So 5 years old, they use a mash bill that does include corn grown in the Tabor area. And then they use wheat and malted barley that I think come from around Penhold, if I remember correctly. Uh, but they do a typical sort of bourbon mash where it's all mashed together and then ran through at the same time. And again, 5 years old, cast strength is 62.5% alcohol. And in my opinion, whether it's like a bourbon or whether it's its own thing, I think this is a fantastic whiskey.
Yeah. Well, and Evan, to your point, I mean, we still stock bourbon, and I know there's some of you
Yep.
watching in provinces to the east of Alberta where that's not the case. We can't not sell it, partly because we own a lot of it already, and we weren't going to just box it up and leave it as a dead asset. But on another level, like, we're a business, people still want to buy things. And it's
Yep.
funny because I would say a high proportion of the people that still are buying bourbon are doing so somewhat sheepishly. Like they'll often say, sorry, but I want what I want. And I mean, we have to be pragmatic about that to a certain extent, but
Yep.
this was also a way for us to show our pride in Canada and show our pride in our local producers, which are putting together some great stuff. And Alberta's got a number of great distilleries. I think just before Christmas, we announced, or is that coming? No, that's coming in my newsletter tomorrow.
Hmm.
Anoka's first single malt,
Yep.
which Anoka's a distillery we're really excited about, just a little south and west of Edmonton. And their first single malt release is not what they want their whiskey to be in a few years' time. But it's just exciting to see that they're getting there because the guy's got such a cool distillery setup. We love what they're doing at Bridgeland. We love what they're doing at Wildlife. There's a lot of distilleries in the Alberta area that are really doing cool things. And these guys have been great partners of ours. So it was exciting to do
Yeah, they have
this.
been.
And Evan, correct me if I was wrong, but at the time this was bottled, this was the oldest cask they'd ever bottled of their whiskey.
Yeah,
It was also
absolutely.
the highest proof bottling of whiskey
Hmm.
they've ever done as well at 62 and a half.
Yeah, yeah, it's again fantastic guys to work with over there, and they've done a great job
Mhm.
with their bourbon style whiskeys, with their Irish style whiskeys, with the Innisfail, which I think is great. They do their own single blend, which is fantastic, sort of marrying together all the different styles they do and doing a
Mhm.
one-off each year of that. Definitely a lot of to like what they're doing, and this kind of just highlights something that. Is probably going to be in the news more as time goes on. I think Davin DeCurgamo was just on CTV News out east talking about how if we actually do away with the again with the North American Free Trade Agreement, Canada gets once again back to a point where we could make and produce bourbon and call it
Yeah.
bourbon if we really wanted to. We could even do it now. We
Yeah.
just can't export it to the US. But
Mhm.
there'd be nothing stopping producers and distillers from making their own
Mhm.
Canadian bourbon if there's no trade agreement in place, which is
Mhm.
kind of funny, in my opinion. But again, regardless of whether you like it or not, I am a big bourbon lover. I think this one, I'm not going to say it's going to fit exactly what I want, and just be the only bourbon I'm going to drink from now on. But it's nice to get something like this and not feel like you have to take it in a brown paper bag and like you're getting a
Mhm.
porn magazine at a magazine shop or something like that.
Mhm. Well, a couple things for me to throw in there, Evan. I don't think it's a big secret for people who do our tastings. I'm not the world's biggest bourbon fan.
Hmm.
Typically, I find it's too woody. One of the things I liked about this is that the grain notes were still there. It wasn't overly woody. And the reason bourbon is overly woody is that it has to be matured in new American oak. And I think that
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I don't like about it. It's also one of the reasons why I don't think, with a handful of exceptions, bourbon matures well past 10 years of age in the US. They just get too woody, they're too bitter, they're too dry. It's not a style of whiskey that I like. The
Yeah.
second thing I wanted to say, just because it's funny, I'm probably sure I told you this, but I don't know if you knew, being that you're not, you're a decade and a half into your Calgary residency, maybe slightly longer than that. But if you go back
Mhm.
in time, the Bridgeland distillery building was Eisenberg's furniture.
Mhm.
And funny side story, I went to grad with Aaron Eisenberg. So
Nice.
yeah. For those who just wanted to know something completely random and useless,
Yep.
that's a fact. Evan, any other notes on the nose or palate on this? Again, I find the
Uh,
nose.
yeah, so it definitely has those like cherry driven bourbon-esque qualities. It goes into a lot of what I get into with Old Forester 1920, where I get cherry notes and then a ton of toffee and butterscotch. I think there's a bit more heat and spice on this one versus the Old Forester 1920, which is one of my favorites currently and has been for a few years now. But yeah, just again, it's not necessarily going to fit the profile that every bourbon lover is looking for, but I think there's a lot to like in this one.
The nose is nice. It's approachable. I think the first time I got in there, I found it was a little warm. It was a little sharp. I mean, this is 5 years old and 62.5%. But I think the kind of people that like those bourbons that are bottled at north of 70%, like this is going to kind of have that concentration of flavor that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And if
Hmm.
this is what it's like at 5 years old, it's going to be, again, fun, like with a lot of craft distilleries to see how things mature from here.
Yeah, really nice spice. It's funny, I get a bit of a like mint toothpaste note in there too.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
I could see that.
yeah. All right. Shall we move on to day number two, or technically 22?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Day 22 is the Glenturret 12-year-old, which I believe is one of their unpeated. This is the 2024 release, bottled at 46.4%. And distillery that was once part of the Edrington Group, for a long time was one of the smallest in Scotland. Uh, I think they produce something like 200,000 liters a year. Like it's a very small production.
Yep.
And now, Evan, they're owned by a French glass, or sorry, I should say crystalware firm.
Yeah. And I think it's actually like French slash Swiss for
Oh,
Lily. I could be wrong.
well,
And
you want to like improve the quality or at least the
yeah.
perception of just slightly. You just toss Swiss in there and everyone's
Yeah,
gonna
the
assume it's
timing
better.
on the of their fermentations now is just bang on every single
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But yeah, so small distillery. It used to be the home of the famous grouse experience. If you go back a decade,
Hmm.
when those two companies, the famous grouse or two brands of famous grouse and Glenturret, were still under the same ownership. They both used to be owned by the Edrington Group, which has come up a few times in our whiskey calendar this year and our Uber calendar as well that Andrew and I did YouTube videos for.
Hmm.
So Edrington Group owns Macallan and Highland Park and Glenrothes. They've quietly or not so quietly shed a lot of other brands over the last 15 or 20 years. where they've gotten rid of the famous grouse, they've gotten rid of Cutty Sark, they've gotten rid of Glenturret. Uh, at one point, they owned Tamdu, they don't own Glengoyne, and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. But the cool thing with Glenturret is we saw sort of a revival of them with new bottlings, and which were not great, honestly, about
Well,
six or 7 years back.
those were the Douglas Lang Glenturret
Yes,
bottlings.
yes. Uh, and then we saw this revival with the more fancy packaging with the sort of like Macallan-esque Stark labeling style um, come out a couple years ago. They've been doing vintage editions with the 12-year-old and the 15-year-old, actually the whole line, if I remember correctly. So this is the 2024 edition we're trying.
Hmm.
But they've also been releasing some peated stuff, which is really good as well. Sadly, the peated stuff is going to be phased out. They're no longer producing that, from my understanding. But
Hmm.
Glenturret has become yet another, like, if you like sherried whiskey that's unpeated in the Macallan style, here's another one that's worth looking at. The 12 and the 15 that they
Hmm.
produces are fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and so was the 25. I can't remember if
Yep,
we might have done the 30 as well.
we did.
Uh,
Yep,
we did a Glenturret range a little while back and beautiful whiskeys. I think we were impressed with a lot of them, including even the young peated ones. The challenge is, I think, once you get up to the 25 and up range, the value starts to drop really quickly. And then when you get over
yep,
30, well, frankly, I think starting at the 30, it starts to fall off a cliff. And it will be interesting in the long run to see how they can maintain that. I think it's likely they don't have a lot of stock, so it's probably okay.
yep.
Um, but an interesting distillery. I visited a few times. The last time I was there, they still had this 1 ton open top mash tun, and I believe they had to stir it with an oar, or maybe it was a broken or like your canoe paddle, essentially at times to get it going. But Evan, do you know the most interesting fact about Glenturret Distillery?
Is this to do with it being the oldest with an asterisk or?
Well, possibly the oldest. I think, there is an interesting, I mean, that's a debate. I mean, could it be Strathisla or possibly even Glenfarclas, depending on how you define a distillery?
Yep.
We don't know. No, the most interesting fact is that the distillery was home to a Guinness Book of World Records cat called Towser the
Oh,
Mouser.
yes. That's
And
right.
it is estimated that in Towser's lifetime, he killed an astonishing 28,899 mice at the distillery. So you think about a distillery, especially older distilleries, there's a lot of grain lying around. Um, that can attract some unpleasant characters. And I mean, we won't go down, well, we'll quickly go down the rabbit hole of Springbank because we don't get to talk about Springbank in our Advent tastings. But when I first visited Springbank in 2005, it was before they put a paint, a lick of new paint on it and tidied it up. And the mill room was
Mhm.
really dirty and there was cobwebs and bird crap and mice droppings everywhere. And I said to Kate, the guide, who's now with Elixir, was with Glenfarclas for a while. I said, Kate, like a very sort of blunt Scottish woman, aren't you concerned about the mice? And she looked at me like I was an idiot and said, fuck no. As long as we have mice, we know we don't have rats. The old Scottish logic of that is once the mice disappear, then you have real problems because the rats are eating the mice. But yeah, rodents, you want to keep them away, obviously. And uh, guess Towser was exceptional at that. Thoughts on the Glenturret 12-year-old?
Yeah. Really nice toffee and butterscotch notes. Again, some light dried fruit notes in there. Dried apricots come in big. There have been a few comments saying a little bit coastal on this one for people.
Hmm.
Uh, Clinton Renata saying definitely a seaside note. Zach saying a little bit of a dried kelp hint. Um,
Hmm.
that's cool. I do get a bit of that saltiness if I'm looking for it. That goes more into like a Dutch licorice note for me. But what do
Oh,
you think,
I,
Andrew?
I think the Dutch licorice is a good one. It's got a real funk to it, and
Yeah.
I'm hesitant without tasting it yet to say that I think it's coastal, but it's got this earthy, dunnage, musty note to it. And I'm sure Glenturret, being a fairly old distillery, well, a very old distillery, has earth and floor dunnage warehouses, and that could be part of that profile note. But to me, it's
Absolutely.
really more, I think it's the sort of that modern style sherry seasoned cask that's dominating the nose with like leather, tobacco, spices, and some dried
Hmm.
fruit.
Yeah. So we talked about it quickly there, but I mentioned it in the blog, but one of the reasons we put the Glenturret in, and I would have loved to put the 15 in, it's just not available or wasn't
Yeah,
available at this time because I think the 15 is fantastic as well.
it's a
It's
banger.
bottled at a higher proof, but the 12 is excellent too. But we did a virtual tasting of Glenturret back in, I think it was May or June, if I remember correctly. And
Hmm.
there were a few of us in that tasting. I was, I think possibly Sean and or Harmony were as well as Andrew. And this was
Hmm.
something we did. It wasn't something where I think the company paid for a bottle or two, but for the most part, this was under our own volition and not like a sponsored tasting or anything like that. And there was nobody from the distillery in on it, but we were all quite impressed with the entire lineup and how well it held together. This guy's at 43% alcohol, but drinks like a really good 43% alcohol
Yeah.
bottling. Their peated bottlings again were great, the 7 and the 10-year-old. And even that, I think this 10-year-old triple wood or triple oak or whatever they're calling was quite nice as
Hmm.
well. You get into the older stuff and it's great, but for me,
Hmm.
the 12 and the 15 especially show really well.
Yeah, I've got some fond memories of like old Glenturret from Signatory, like
Mhm.
1989 vintage Glenturret that was bottled in around the mid 2010s. That was
Those were
absolutely
cool bottles.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yep.
refill casks. They went very tropical. It's a spirit that I think has a lot of lovely character to it. And I think it gets better with age. But yeah, the young peated ones I think were very drinkable. I think the triple wood was the only one that didn't really kind of um, jive with me, but I think I went in the same. My expectations were low. Like, Evan, when's the last time a French takeover of a Scottish distillery went well? I mean, we can look at
Yeah.
Tullibardine, where they bought the
Yeah.
distillery and then absolutely ruined it. Um,
I guess you could say Brooklady did all right.
yeah, but I mean, the Bruichladdich was already doing well, and they didn't really change
Yeah.
anything. They left all the local
Yeah.
people in charge. But you're right. That is one that's a good. And I mean, some might. Well, there's probably nowadays an argument with Moy Hennessy and Ardbeg and Glenmoe, but
Hmm.
um, they certainly had the money to do things with that the former owner did not.
Absolutely.
Some interesting notes in the about cats in the chat. Apparently, Lindor's Abbey has a famous cat too, featured in Inside the Mind of a Cat. So there you go. For those of you who like cat
Cool.
facts, I'll admit I'm more of a dog guy myself, but I do appreciate a hardworking cat,
Mhm.
just as long as it's not in my home.
Yeah. Cat's less likely to take a leak on your rental car tire, from what I understand at distilleries.
That's true, but I don't really care because it's a rental car tire. And
That's true.
Shorty was just welcoming me to Ardbeg. That's all. That's
That's
all
right.
that was. Uh, do we have anything else to say about Glenturret other than that we think it's better than we thought it was going to be, and people
Absolutely.
should hopefully enjoy this and give it a whirl.
Solid dram. Sign a writing campaign or start one if you can to keep them doing peated whiskey. But
Yeah.
beyond that, good stuff.
All right. Door 23, the second from last, is the Signatory 100 proof Craigellachie 16-year exceptional cask. This
Yes.
isn't just a 100 proof, it's a 100 proof exceptional. And Evan, um, I'll let you tell them a little bit more about the distillery or the bottler. But the 100
Yeah.
proof range, uh, I will quickly just add for those who don't know, 57.5% or
Point one.
0.1%, sorry, is 100 British proof. And this goes back
Yeah.
to a point in time before they had hydrometers. And even, I mean, until recently, if you owned hydrometers, they're fragile glass contraptions that can easily break, are quite expensive and hard to move around. But the way they would prove whiskey was legit, that it wasn't below strength, meant that it had to be very strong. And the way they did this was by adding gunpowder to the whiskey and then seeing if it lit on fire. If it didn't catch on fire, then the whiskey wasn't proved. It was below
Mhm.
57.1%. So that's why there's a difference between British proof and American proof. I suppose in Canada, we probably do the same thing. Double the alcohol is your
Yeah, I think
proof.
we essentially just double it, which is definitely easier for math versus the British system.
It's
But
one of the few things that America does that is simple when it comes
yeah,
to numbers, because just about everything else they do with numbers is
a
bonkers.
hot mess.
Miles,
Yeah,
feet, yards. I mean, there's great comedy sketches about that. We don't have to rehash
yeah,
that here.
yeah. Even Fahrenheit. Terrible idea.
That might be the worst. My parents will still say, "Oh, you'll love the temperature down here. It's 95 Fahrenheit." I'm like, I have no idea what that means.
That's right. That's
You're gonna
right.
have to convert that for me.
So yeah, Signatory Vintage, great independent bottler, founded back in the early 80s, if I remember correctly, by Andrew Symington of the Symington family when it comes to port, if I remember correctly.
No.
No,
He's unrelated. I thought
completely
the same thing
unrelated.
too. No, he was a
Yeah,
hotelier. He worked at
nice.
the Preston Fields Hotel, which was like a four-star hotel in Edinburgh. It used to be the bougiest place to stay. And this is where it relates to the name Signatory. Where that all came from was he wanted to get celebrities to sign each of his releases. So
Ah,
every
that's right.
bottling would have a signature on it. And then it proved so hard. I think the first bottling was going to be a weatherman. It proved so hard to track the weatherman down and get him to sign it that they just ran the labels. And he's like, you know what? I'll keep the name, but I'm not going to try to chase people down for signatures.
Probably a smart move. So yeah, this 100 proof series that we've started getting in Canada over the last 2.5 years or so has been pretty cool. They 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 tend to do some 46 percent bottlings as well. Then they have the higher end signatory vintage bottlings as well, which tend to be a little bit more ornate bottle wise. But I
Hmm.
love this as sort of like the gap, filling the gap in between. I honestly don't know why this is in the exceptional range. Maybe it's because it's not bottled at 12 or 13 years old and instead 16. But cool to see Craigellachie in a big sherry cask. It's one of the Speyside whiskeys that really can handle a big sherry cask, thanks to its worm tub and meaty style of spirit. And you can
Hmm.
still see that coming through on this one quite a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, Evan, when you say you don't know why it was in the exceptional cask, is that because you don't feel it's exceptional, or is you're just not sure what the
I
difference is?
don't
I
know
think because
why there is a, because I don't think the younger ones get the exceptional cast treatment, if I remember correctly.
I think it is purely age. Because
Yeah,
you can think back, we had that Speyside GL, which we all believe to be Glenlivet, which
yeah,
was quite lovely. It was a 16 or a 17-year-old as well. I think that that's exactly what it is. It's just the ones that are slightly older. And I will say this, it's not to say that they would bottle a not great 16-year-old. Andrew Symington is very particular about his business. He buys parcels of casks and then he knows he might bottle one a year out of, say, 20 or 30 casks and continuously release them as they get older. But he, like Gordon MacPhail, he monitors them to see which ones are maturing more quickly, which ones are maturing more slowly, and therefore which ones need to get bottled sooner because they're coming
mhm,
to maturity at a younger age. So I think the interesting thing here is that like we've got some younger 100 proof Craigellachie's from this 100
yeah,
proof line. But this is a little bit older and I think it's fair to say that also that Craigellachie is one of those single malts that tends to take to sherry quite well because it's one of
yes.
those meaty, slightly sulfurous distillates.
Yeah, and I think that meatiness really comes off on the nose here for me. Again, plenty of toffee and butterscotch going into like a milk and dark chocolate note, but
Mhm.
it does have this sort of like underlying meatiness to it, something savory in there. But not like full on like off-putting at all, just part of what's there.
David and Jackie, how do you say Craigellachie? Craigellachie. It's Craig E. Lucky. So
Yeah,
Craigellachie. Um, yeah, it's a weird one, but there's a cool Canadian connection to the distillery.
there is.
Craigellachie is the name of the last spike where the last spike in the Canadian Pacific Railroad was put in. And the reason it was named after this village in Scotland where this distillery sits is that they were running out of money. And so they wired home to Scotland, basically said, can you loan us some money so we can finish the railroad? And I believe the reply they got back was hold fast or stand fast, which was the Grant Clan motto. And
Hmm.
that's why the last spike was named after Craigellachie. So a little bit of Canadian history there. Um, and this is an interesting one, Evan, because it hasn't we've had this for a little while. I actually really thought that this would take off, and maybe we
Yeah,
haven't put it in a tasting. But I think part
yeah,
of the problem is that the Craigellachie 13 is such good value, and the
yeah.
Craigellachie 17 as well as the 13 are on sale all the time. So while this is 165, you can get the Craigellachie 17 for like 120 bucks, more or less.
Yeah, there is that Craigellachie 13 is a great dram. The 17's been on crazy discounts lately too, and is great stuff as well. Both bottled at 46% alcohol and showing well for that. But I think there might be something to that where it is kind of maybe doing harm over time to the concept of this distillery for some
Mhm.
people.
Yeah, it could be in the long run. But this
Yeah,
is a nice sherry cask. It's clean.
yeah,
It's showing that slightly meaty, sulfury style. And you have to be careful with sherry because when you start talking about sulfur, people start thinking sulfur taint or like, the sulfur candles being burned in the cask. And I think it's fair to say it's been a very long time since we've seen any Craigellachie casks with that kind of taint on them. But yeah, this
yeah,
is a lovely sherried example of the distillate. It has a fairly long fermentation, so it can get quite tropical with age. It often has this nice cheesy note to it too. And yeah, I think this is a lovely balling.
yeah. Like if this would be hard to beat if you're looking for just big sherry that has spirit
Mhm.
to hold up to it. Um, I really like how it is not just big gloopy sherry. There is some spice to it. That savory note keeps it from being just a sweet bomb as well, which is good.
Some interesting fact checking in the chat. Um, uh, Adam and Kate saying, wasn't this recently in on insane sale last month? Um, it might have been. I don't think so. I mean, we ended up using a decent amount of this in the whiskey
Yeah,
advent tasting, so I don't think we have a ton left. But another comment in there that the 17, this has so much more going for it than the 17.
yeah,
What's interesting there, and Rawal's wondering if it's the ABV. There's a couple things going on there. Um, I like this. I think this is a Craigellachie for people that like sherried whiskeys.
yeah,
Why I like the 17 is that it's that naked distillate that's starting to get
yeah.
tropical. And I mean that's what's really special about that. It's still 46, which for a distillery label like owned by a big giant drinks company, the fact that those are at 46 is impressive and we love it.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I'd have to try these side by side to say whether I liked one better. This is a great 16-year-old sherried whiskey, but I like that naked style of Craigellachie too.
Absolutely. Yeah, the 17 has got to be mostly American oak and probably ex-bourbon, and I think the
Mhm.
13 isn't too far off that as well.
Yeah.
Um, so you are definitely getting a different style of Craigellachie versus what we're getting with this sherry cask here.
Mhm. All right, Evan, we've got two to go, and I think
Hmm.
we're ending with a couple of bangers.
Yes, we
So
are.
the penultimate dram of this year's whiskey advent tastings is the Benromach 2005 KWM Cask. I believe that's 355 or yeah, 335. There you go.
Yep,
Uh, this is our seventh, if I'm not mistaken, Benromach cask.
that sounds about right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had and this is actually well, it's not the youngest we've had recently, but it's one of the younger ones because we've bottled three that were 2001 and 2002 vintages. I
Mhm.
think we had one that was a 2013
Well,
a
actually,
while
Evan,
back.
we bottled, I think, a 2001 about 15 years ago as well. So I mean,
That's true. Yeah.
there were some much older ones from that or 2001 or 2002, going way way way
Hmm.
back. But yeah, we've bottled a number of older Benromachs in the last little while, and this one was a departure. But this is cool because this is the oldest sherry cask of Benromach that they'd sold to a single
Yeah.
retailer. I think at least in North America, they might have sold one to La Maison de Whiskey in France. And at
Hmm.
18 years of age, or sorry, 19 years of age. Oh no, I've got the wrong one here. It's 18 years of age. Got to pull the right one up. Anyway, Evan, continue telling people about this lovely whiskey and all.
Yeah. So I think the cool thing about this one is, for myself, and I know quite a few of the other staff at Kensington Wine Market, Andrew, Kurt as well, KWM alumni Kurt. We've all been fans of the ex-bourbon style that we've been getting from the 2001s and 2002s from Benromach. Getting something in sherry that's got some age to it, and it shows that like the Craigellachie, this is something that can hold up to sherry quite nicely. This is a sherry hoggy, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
But it was really nice to see that there's still something that you can find in these big sherry casks. It's such a good marriage, and it reminds me of how what I like so much about the 10-year-old and even the old uh 10-year-olds 100 proof, wasn't it? Or 10-year-old, yeah, it
Mhm.
was 10-year-old 100 proof that they used to bottle, where it's just a bigger, bolder style.
Mhm. Yeah, I absolutely love Benromach. I don't think that's a big secret. Long fermentations, brewers and distillers yeast, slow, very purposeful distillation. I think they are the gold standard of distilleries. I think they are the best
Yep.
distillery currently bottling whiskey in Scotland. And the reason for that is that they've made whiskey in a very old-fashioned way. And I think stepping back from Benromach, the reason the revival of Benromach has turned out so well was that it was Gordon MacPhail who bought it in 93,
Absolutely.
took
Yeah.
took 5 years to rebuild it, didn't cut any corners, and were very purposeful about the whiskey they wanted to make. They weren't trying to replicate Benromach as it was in 1983 when the distillery shut down. They wanted to make a whiskey that paid homage to that and was true to that style, but they wanted to do something different. They wanted to make a
Yeah.
traditional Speyside style of whiskey, uh, a whiskey style that would have been made, in the years before and just after World War II, which was a lightly peated Speyside whiskey. It's a bit of a misnomer that all Speyside and all Highland whiskeys are unpeated. If you go back historically, they
Mhm.
all would have been peated far enough. And even in World War II, there was the handful of distilleries allowed to operate, like Macallan, had to use peat to dry their malt because all the coal was being and gas were being used for the war effort. So Benromach is it's a fascinating distillate, and I think we're seeing it now. If you've been on one of our tastings with the Benromach, you'll know that I think the 2002 and 2003s are very reminiscent of Brora at about 20, 25 years of age, where you have this lovely, waxy, delicate smoke mixing with tropical fruit. Um, but this 2005 sherry Benromach, so late teens and 18-year-old in this case, they're starting to taste like somewhere between an 18-year-old Springbanker long roast. So they've got this
Yeah.
almost Campbellton style whiskey when it comes out in the sherry casks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gorgeous whiskey, and there's something like I get this burnt brown sugar note on it that really reminds me of almost like a direct fired, like if you peated Glenfarclas, which for me is again pretty high praise. Like it's going into that the quality and the complexity of a family cask in a great manner. Just a lot going on with these Benromachs and especially the sherry cask, which I think. Like I love our current ex-bourbon 2002, but I think I actually like this one more. And I wouldn't have said that
Hmm.
when I first tried them side by side. There's just something really
Hmm.
enticing about this. Maybe it's the weather right now or something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, what's with what Andrew was saying about the sort of like the rebuilding or refresh and restarting of Benromach. The
Hmm.
greatest thing about Gordon MacPhail as a company and as a family-owned company is kind of like going and talking about Glenfarclas and the Grant family with where
Mhm.
it all comes down to patience and having the ability to have the patience to see a long-term goal and see it come to fruition over years and years and years. And we're seeing that now with Benromach. We've seen it with other stuff over and over and over again with single
Mhm.
casks from Gordon MacPhail as well. But yeah, this is
Mhm.
fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just building on that point, Evan, there are so few companies that have the luxury of
Yeah,
not worrying about what the board is going to say or what the shareholders or activist investors are going to want. They can just stick to their guns and make great whiskey. And the whole vision of the family is what we do today is not for us, but it's for the future. It's
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
it's for our children and our grandchildren. And it's easy to say that. I think that that whole talk is cheap really applies in this situation because it truly is a company that lives by those words. And, they're a pleasure to work with. And I think between Benromach and Gordon MacPhail, Evan, this is another little fun fact. We are Gordon MacPhail's biggest single cask customer in the world. At
Wow,
least we
very
were
cool.
last fall when Richard crashed an event I was hosting in Vancouver. So,
Man,
which
if
was
you can have someone
amazing.
crash your event, yeah,
Well, he sat there and heard me butter him up, but I mean, I was going to do that whether he'd been there or not. So,
that's right. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't have to be in the room for us to talk good about him.
no,
Um, I hate to leave this one, but that seems like a good sort of segue into number 25.
that sounds good, Evan. Um, I now know how to use my AI features, so pretty
Nice.
excited about that.
You got
Uh,
to get the Doug fireworks going on with the disco ball now.
I don't know if that's like you do this, if like this does something too, and we'll see if that's what that did. Lower hand. Oh, that's just to raise my hand. I don't want to do that. Anyway, it's fine. I'll lower my hand. What I wanted to say about this is as much as I like the nose, I love the palate even more. It's just
Yeah.
really old school, really soft sherry, this nice tobacco, earthy peat, chocolate, candied fruit. Just so many nice layers to this. It's just a spectacular dram, and I love it. Uh,
Andrew, it looks like there's a feather walking along the
oh,
bottom
that
of
that
your
would be
screen right
my
now.
my daughter's tripod, Jerry. Jerry, the three-legged farm dog rescue. He was
Mhm.
just coming in to check on me and or hope Jerry, don't go into the. I was worried he might go into the gym and mark something, but you never know. He's
Mhm.
gone upstairs, so he's not my problem anymore. Day 25, Evan.
Yes.
Uh, Final window on here. It's so late now. Excited. I know what this one is, so I'm pretty jacked
Yep.
about it. I don't think, no, I didn't open it the right way, but it doesn't matter because it's going into the recycling bin in a few minutes anyway. We are finishing off our Kensington Wine Market 2025 Whiskey Advent tastings, the calendar that's not a calendar with the Caol Ila 2002 KWM Cask, a 22-year-old Caol Ila, and not the first 2002 Caol Ila we've bottled from Gordon MacPhail either.
No, not at all. But this is the oldest Caol Ila we've ever bottled, I believe, which is pretty cool.
It is indeed.
Um, so ex-bourbon on this one, if I remember correctly.
I'll pull it up, but I'm pretty sure you are correct about that.
Yeah, so this seemed like a good one to cap the night on. That's it's hard to beat that Benromach, and we were already giving a lot of love to Gordon MacPhail, so we can just continue on with that, justifiably so. Um, Starting with sort of like probably the most consistent distillery uh,
Mhm.
out there, and then combining it with the most consistent independent bottler. Seems like a good place to end. So Caol Ila Distillery, largest operation distillery on Isla with almost, I think, about 40% more production than Lefroy Distillery, if I remember correctly. Around just over 6 million liters a year that they're capable
I
of.
I think it might actually be as high as 8 million liters now, Evan. But
Wow.
it's big. It's a big distillery on a
Yep.
tiny little speck of land. And as a
Yep.
result of that, they mature almost none of their whiskey on Isla, which
Yep.
again, I think we broke some. misconceptions for people and possibly hearts when I went off on a completely unrelated tirade about Talisker not being matured on the island of Skye. But Caol Ila is the same. I think there's one warehouse there along the coast. They can't store very many casks in it. They
No.
do store some unique ones there, but I think someone told me that at one point there might be more Lagavulin in those warehouses than there is Caol Ila.
Yeah. Yeah. So they did just they were closed for a couple of years in the early 2020s, if I remember correctly. They were closed when Andrew and I went there for some refurbishments and stuff in 2019. But they have bumped up production quite a bit. And so this is Diageo owned. A lot of it goes into Johnny Walker Black Label for Caol Ila Distillery. Diageo also owns the Lagavulin Distillery on Isla and their newly revived Port Ellen Distillery as well as the Port Ellen Maltings, and
Mhm.
now is not selling maltings to any other company on Isla. Those are all exclusively used. Their malt that they create there for their own Isla distilleries and for some of their distilleries on the mainland, I believe, as well.
Mhm.
Which is too bad. It makes everything a bit more expensive for everybody else to get their malt to Isla. They have to get it from off the island. But regardless of that, Caol Ila, like I was saying, it's got to be one of, if not the most consistent distillery in Scotland.
Mhm.
We've talked about it a lot. It's almost impossible to screw up a cask of Caol Ila.
Yeah.
It's just that the base level for quality on Caol Ila just seems to be quite high.
Mhm.
And we've had some great casks of Caol Ila that we bottled over the years. We've seen fantastic casks from other companies as well. Even official bottlings like the old 30-year-old was fantastic from Caol Ila.
Yeah. Um, sorry, I'm smirking because I think my dog and my daughter's dog are about to enter the dog run down here in the basement. They're barking at each other.
Nice.
Uh, yeah, Evan, everything you said is true about it. I think it's fair to say I've sampled more Caol Ila than any other whiskey in Scotland, bar none. And I think it's because it's
Mhm.
the most commonly available Isla whiskey from independent
Yep.
ballers. So it's been the most prolific over the years. And I can only think of a handful of really dreadful bottlings.
Yeah.
Most of them have either been a wine cask or
Yeah.
like a sulfured sherry cask, which really isn't the distillate's fault. It's the
Yeah.
sherry sulfur cask, the sulfur tainted cask's fault.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Caol Ila is at that nice tipping point where the peat starts to become more buttery and oily and soft. It's really
Yeah.
starting to show its age. Older peated whiskeys can lose their smoke a little, some in some cases more than others. But this has retained enough of it that it's got that sort of firm, earthy peat grip that people want. But it's
Yeah.
softened enough that those tropical fruit tones are starting to come through. Those lush vanillins and honeys from the bourbon cask are starting to
Mhm.
come through. And you're getting those bacon seafood notes that you get in a lot of different Caol Ilas as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's still quite salty and coastal, has that
Mhm.
typical Caol Ila oiliness still coming into play there. Some great,
Mhm.
still big grain notes in there as well. Just a lot going on.
Yeah, I love the sweetness. I love how lush, creamy, and even waxy that is on the palate. It's got a
Yeah.
great mouthfeel. Bacon fat, a little bit of like seared scallop as well too, poached in butter.
Yeah. Big minerality too on the finish. This chalkiness that comes into play
Mhm.
right on the finish for me that I quite enjoy.
Yeah, bright fruits, nice mouthfeel. 50, what is that, 55.2, if I'm reading
Yep.
correctly. Uh, no rough edges to it. Just a
No,
wonderful, very drinkable whiskey. And I think also at a very reasonable price. Like there's
absolutely.
independent, I mean, we're still seeing a handful of independent bottlings of Caol Ila coming into the market for sub 15-year-old stock that are $200-300 a bottle, which is just
Egregious. Yeah.
ludicrous. And Evan, you made that comment about how Diageo, I believe short-sightedly, um, no longer selling
Hmm.
malts to the other distilleries on Isla. Well, for the last few months, like the news has been watching distilleries shutting down production or slowing production, cutting shifts. because they realized that maybe they've been making too much for the last decade.
Yep.
And this is going to hit Lagavulin, it's going to hit Caol Ila eventually. And that then is going to beg the question, well, what do you do about the malt that you now have? All that surplus malt, are you going to start selling it again to those other distilleries? Are they going to buy it, not knowing if
Yep.
you're going to cancel their contracts in the future? Or are you going to have to
Mhm.
lay off employees because you now don't need them to malt as much peated malt?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think there's been it's I mean I've been banging on about it in my blog posts, and I think we've talked about it quite a bit at Kensington Wine Market. But this is kind of the issue with the industry as a whole is that we're looking at a time where I think consumers feel at least there needs to be a correction made in maybe production, maybe in pricing, probably a combination of the two. Uh, we're still getting these weird bottlings where they say they're limited, but you don't know how limited they are, and then the price goes up because of that, and so on and so forth. We've seen some companies actually come in and correct their pricing, which has been awesome. But then we've seen some holdouts or some others that are still just not reading the room, and are still bumping their prices up at a silly pace. Not sure if that's going to carry on, but hopefully everybody kind of sees where the market has gone and does something about it. So who's winning right now, Andrew?
Oh, right now they're running laps around the L-shaped couch in the basement. Jerry the tripod is occasionally leaping the couch, which you wouldn't expect a differently
Oh,
abled dog, so everybody can. And yeah, it's bedlam down here, Evan. Why don't we go to the speed round? I'll let you lead things off and I'll mute it so people don't have to hear the barking in the background.
sounds good. Okay, let's go starting at the Bridgeland Tempered Corn Bourbon KWM Cask, going back to that one, 57.5 or 62.5% alcohol. It could be because I believe my daughter is made and burnt some microwave popcorn in the kitchen, but I swear I'm getting some popcorn notes on this right now. That could all be in my head though. Still has a lot of toffee and butterscotch that reminds me of Old Forester 1920 in a really good manner. Still getting those cherry notes and some peach cobbler in there. And like Andrew said, I think this one is pretty balanced when it comes to a bourbon style whiskey. The wood is there, but it's not overly woody. And it's got that great sort of corn viscosity happening on the palate as well.
It's opened up nicely on the nose, and it's almost perfumed. I mean, and this is a wheated bourbon, so I'm guessing that's probably coming from the
Yeah.
wheat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got a lovely nose, great balance to it. Evan, fun little. I mean, we didn't really publish this, but we got some Blantons like everybody else in Alberta over
Yes.
the holidays. Well, actually, before the holidays, and because Alberta got Canada's allocation of Blantons because no one else east of us is taking it. And do you know what I did with my Blantons over the holidays, Evan?
What'd you do?
I made eggnog with it. I
Nice.
put it to proper use. So
Nice.
yeah, that's what I did with my Blantons.
Well, that's eggnog tastes better if there's a horse on top, I believe. So that's
I,
good.
well, and I made it with water buffalo eggnog from a
Nice.
farm somewhere in central Alberta. So it was a
Cool.
pretty bougie eggnog, fair to say. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, palate on this is great too. I think with having gone through the other five whiskeys, my palate has adjusted to that barrel proof strength of 62.5%. It's drinking a little better
Yeah,
now. Um, but yeah, nice little bourbon. Kudos to our friends in Calgary at formerly Eisenberg's Fine Furniture and now Distillery, named for
that's right.
bridges. Uh,
Back to day 22 with the Glenturret 12-year-old. The only 43% are in their lineup.
mhm. It's gotten farmy. It's got this like, I
Yep.
don't know, Ardmore, but cleaner profile to it on the nose now.
It's like Shreddies, like drowned in maple syrup for me right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
A little bit of
It's like
sponge toffee in there as well.
it's like you're cleaning a horse stable, but with like fancy leather gloves, and they're now
Mhm.
wet.
Yeah. Rawals is honey shreddies. I'm with him on that.
Mm,
I think that's what I was
mhm,
trying to grasp for there. Slightly burnt caramel, says Adam and Kate M.
mhm. The palette is lovely, caramel, chocolate. You know, going back to the comment people made earlier about this being a somewhat salted caramel, I think or like a coastal note, I think is actually what they said. I can see a little bit of a salted caramel note in this too.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's interesting, the sherry notes are fairly prominent, but they're not dominant in this. Like there's a nice elegance to it.
Yeah. So it was pointed out that I'm wrong about the 43%. This is 46.4% alcohol. Thank you, David.
Mm. Well, there you go. That might explain why it doesn't taste like a 43% whiskey, but
Hmm.
we digress. Lovely. Let's see how that Craigellachie is doing now.
Yeah.
Little meaty, some candied fruit and spices, and a note of what are those things called? Nerds, like those little rock candies.
Yeah. So I'm getting a bit of teriyaki, but a touch of mustard on the nose as
Mm,
well right now for me. Like Big Mac sauce.
mm. Fun little aside for anyone who's in Calgary, there's
Mm.
a taqueria in Marteloup area. Probably not authentic Mexican food, but one of the things they do is a deconstructed Big Mac taco. It probably sounds gross, but it's insane. They put American cheese on it. I mean, what we call American cheese, a smash burger patty, and then they replicate Big Mac sauce. And I'm sure it sounds weird to do that as a taco, but it's a duck fat taco, and you got to go
Nice.
have at least one of them. And their cocktails are good too.
Duck
Um,
fat does seem to make just about everything better.
it really does, really does. Man, Masa Mama, that's what the place is called. Definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
Um, yeah, Craigellachie's nice. The palate
Yeah.
is sort of what I'd expect a 16-year-old Craigellachie to be. There's some nice spice there. It's got a bit of that slightly meaty, like chicken beef jerky, if there is such a thing, and
Hmm.
yeah, a little bit of like grain sulfur coming through because that's effectively the
Yeah.
sulfur that's in here is not cask
Yeah.
sulfur. It's grain, the
So worm
spirit
tubs.
sulfur coming, yeah, and it's coming from the grain. Like the barley
Yeah.
is what's imparting that sulfur.
Okay, back to the Benromach on the nose. I'm still getting a lot of that sort of like direct fire, sort of char, burnt brown sugar note on this one, which I absolutely love. Some lighter floral notes coming in there as well.
A few of the folks here might have a hard time visiting Masa Mama because they're in Lincoln, Montana. So
Mhm.
welcome to the tasting, folks. Thanks for joining us. Uh, Yeah, the nose on this, Evan, now, this is all Springbank to me. Like this is old Springbank 18
Yeah.
with like I mean, the peating levels in Springbank are so inconsistent, but this is like a
Yeah.
nice firm level of peat, a nice earthy peat. Maybe the peat was a little wet when they threw it on the fire for this one.
Would make sense. It was just pouring when we were there, and the pile of peat is outside for a lot of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it does have that sort of damp smoke note to it as well. But these great barley notes coming through, some great fruit notes coming from the sherry cask, and again that light floral note that's coming through for me.
Yeah. Oh. It has that. I mean, we've done a number of Springbank tastings through the
Yep.
store this year for members of the Springbank Society as well, which unfortunately don't ask if you're not familiar with it because they haven't accepted new members in like 7 years. But every time I try those whiskeys, I just love the distillate. I love the mouthfeel of them. They seem to have more texture. You know, they're not always necessarily better from a cask perspective, although I think Springbank has done a much better job in recent years with their casks. But I mean, this is just so Springbanky to me, and I think that is like an immense compliment to make to Benromach is they took a distillery, they rebuilt it, they revived it, and their bourbon cask whiskeys at age 18 to 20 years of age taste like Brora, which is an almost impossible whiskey to buy these days unless you want to pay a couple $1,000 or much
Yep.
more. and their sherry cask whiskeys taste like Springbank. I mean, I don't know if I can pay a higher compliment to the distillery
Yep.
than that. They're just making phenomenal stuff.
This is the distillery itself is one of those that when people say they love Springbank and wish they could get something like it, that's
Mhm.
Benromach is usually one of the first that I point out. Their 10 and the 15 are a little bit lighter. Although their 10
Mhm.
is fantastic in my opinion, but single cask Benromach is just top tier stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Evan, I think the only thing I would say about it, I disagree with you, is I like that bourbon cask one better. But I think
Yeah,
that's just because I'm an old man and I'm a bit of a purist now, and I want the straight goods. And
yeah,
for most distilleries now, the straight goods is I like the distillate at age in ex bourbon because
yeah,
sherry can sometimes add things that maybe hide the distillate a little bit more. But man, that is such an amazing cask.
yeah,
One more,
yeah. It's fantastic stuff.
the final, Evan, of
Yes,
2025. And then we can see
yeah.
what
Going
you've
to
got in
ex-bourbon.
store for polls. I'm assuming there's a poll.
Oh, there is.
Oh, is
Uh,
there?
Yeah, I didn't go really funny, but I tried to put everything in there. So we'll see how that
Okay,
goes. Yeah.
perfect. Well, I mean, sometimes less is more. So we'll wait and see what's there. The nose on this is now got this really nice kind of seafood counter in
Oh
like a
yeah.
farmer's market note to it.
Even going into a bit of cedar plank salmon there
Mhm.
on the barbecue for me. Lots of shellfish notes, so for absolutely.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Some nice steamed mussel notes on this one now. Um,
Yeah.
nice oils. I mean, I love those soft, buttery oils that the peat has imparted on the spirit. You know, I don't think peated whiskeys are better than unpeated whiskeys, but I love this one analogy I came up with a long time ago, trying to explain to somebody why a younger peated whiskey is often more interesting than an unpeated whiskey at a
Mhm.
young age. And it's, let's say a regular whiskey, an unpeated whiskey, you're using 9 colors. And then you're in your 10th whiskey, you have a 10th color and it's black. And you weren't
Yeah.
allowed to use black in those previous paintings. It just gives you this other element that you otherwise wouldn't have. And man, that is a beautiful, silky, buttery, oily, savory whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked a lot about it, especially young peated whiskey, kind of like it's really good at hiding young distillate
Mhm.
and sometimes hiding flaws in distillate as well. But seeing something that was great from the start, like a
Mhm.
Caol Ila, and then seeing it with 22 years of age, it's hard not to get something special, but this is definitely top notch.
Agreed. A wonderful dram, a great one to end
Mhm.
on. But we're not
Mhm.
quite done yet, Evan. I'm going to fire up the poll here.
Yeah,
So we are going to give you a couple of minutes here. Well, I think we'll give you more than a couple of minutes. We'll buy you some
it'll
time
take a bit. Yeah.
because there's your favorite whiskeys, round one and second favorite whiskeys from tonight's tasting. And then Evan's got what is your top five for the entire calendar? And that is a tall order, Evan. I'm not sure I could spontaneously right on the moment do this.
Yeah.
But that's cool. And then fourth question, bonus question. Feel free to email your responses or put it in the comments instead. Any question that you wish to ask Andrew or Evan, if you're in charge, what you would change for next year's Advent tastings. And Evan, that is a great question too. We do encourage you.
Mhm.
It's either Evan at kensingtonwinemarket.com or Scotch Guy at kensingtonwinemarket.com. Would love to have your feedback. Uh, let us know what if there's something that you think we've missed that you'd love to see. We'd love to hear that. Maybe don't put it in the chat tonight because I mean we're not particularly good at data mining the chat post tastings. I think
No
it's fair to
kidding.
say.
Yeah, and
I
we don't trust Zoom's AI to do it for us. So
No, and I mean I think once or twice I've enabled that AI thing, but I don't even know what it does. And
yeah.
then furthermore, I don't stick around for whatever it's going to generate after the fact. But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
a lot to surf through there and to select. So yeah, please take your time with that. Evan, while they are doing
Yeah.
that, and while we're wrapping up here, I'm curious to know what your three favorite whiskeys from tonight's tasting are.
Yeah, it's a toughie. There's a lot that I really enjoyed this one. But my first favorite is going to be the Benromach. It's just showing really, really good right now. I love the 2002 we had, and maybe if I tried them side by side right now, I might change my mind. But I think this is just a fantastic sherry cask. There's something about Benromach and sherry with the combination of the spice where you get these herbaceous notes. So it's a little bit more round and floral on this one because of age, but they do something really magical there. Second favorite would be the Caol Ila, and it's close. That Caol Ila is fantastic. And then third favorite, I love that Bridgeland, but I think I got to give it to the Glenturret. That just the fact that that's an official bottling. Kudos to them. They're doing some great stuff there, and it's great to see new owners come in, sort of like revive and create a line and start
Mhm.
fresh and start with something special. So
Yeah,
yeah, great dram. Andrew.
cool. You know what, Evan, what's interesting is that Glenturret might have made my list, but it didn't
Yep.
because it got a little too Ardmore-like
Woo-hoo.
in the second round, which might be why you like it and why I don't. It's
It very
got
well that cheesiness, just that there's something to it.
and
Yep.
it's a little barnyardy. I like the horse has not been quite put away wet after being ridden hard,
No.
but it's close to that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's been brushed.
so uh, my favorite, I'm going to go Caol Ila. And I think it edges the Benromach for me because I love that bourbon cask in an older whiskey, including older
Hmm.
peated whiskeys. It allows you to see more of the peat. So Caol Ila is my number one. Benromach is my number two. And I am going to go Bridgeland Tabor Corn Bourbon KWM Cask
Nice.
for my third
Very
favorite
cool.
because I think that showed really well for a 5-year-old in a range where it
Yeah.
was the youngest whiskey by more than half. It really stood up and showed its own. So
Yep.
that's uh that's my vote.
Very cool. Well, while other people are running through the entire last 25 days of December
Yeah.
for their votes there, and that's hard to do. So kudos for everybody that's already voted. My top five, and I didn't include the last 5 days, and I never really do on this, but Barry's Teen and Nick KWM Cask. I absolutely love that one from the day seven of the calendar. Day ten's Portiscake 17. Another great Caol Ila, just hyper clean, like the cleanest Caol Ila possible. I really love what they're doing there with that bottling at 50.5% alcohol. Day 12, we had the North Star Empress 17-year-old. There's just something about that bottle, and I don't think it clicked for everybody, but it really clicked for me, that sort of antique style and leathery style it had. I really enjoyed. Definitely got to have the Day 13's Walter's Choice blended scotch in there. That 44-year-old, it's going to be one of those that we're still talking about years later that we're going to be sad to see it go. And it will be going soon, but I'm glad we got that cask. And then last but not least, our single malts of Scotland's Linkwood that we had on day 16, the KWM cask. Such a
Mhm.
fantastic Linkwood cask. Those are my top five for the
Okay.
entire lineup, personally.
Evan, I'm going to echo some of that. I'm going to go Walter's Choice number one for me by far. Like
Yeah.
it's not even close. That was the best whiskey in the whole range for me. I think that Millstone 2016 KWM shows a lot better probably than the votes would show because
Yeah.
it's a 7-year-old whiskey. It's not exciting, but I think that would be in there for me as well. The Linkwood Single Malts of Scotland, I agree with you on that. That is right in there for me. The Ardmore, I love Ardmore with some age on it, and that's a very naked one with some age. So that would be my number four. And God, number five, not including tonight's whiskeys. So if I'm living by that rule. You know
Mhm.
what? I might be with you. I'm gonna go Barry's Teen Innick. I like that Port Asking 17 as well, but I think that I just love the the kind of the waxy, soft profile of that Teaninnick. And
Nice.
if I were to answer the bonus question, um, Evan, just because I know how much work it is for you, I
Mhm.
think maybe you might need to start using AI to data mine your past blog posts
That's right.
so that you
That's
can
right.
reuse content without being repetitive. That
That's
might
right.
be
I'm
my
just,
my
or just
suggestion for you.
strictly copy pasting from here on in. I might have to do something because my intention at the beginning was to do this and the Uber calendar, and I it was a complete fail on the Uber calendar side. I didn't get any
Yeah.
posts done for that, which
Mhm.
I'm kind of ashamed of because I love writing about this stuff. But
But
there's only
Evan,
so many days in December.
I've got an idea for you to discuss with that tomorrow, where we can
Yep,
make good on that, but on a smaller scale. But
sounds good.
that's not a comment for now. For now, 27 of 28 of you have voted. So I'm
That's
going to
impressive.
give the last person in the event they are planning to vote, we're going to give you another minute to get your shit together, as the kids say, before we wrap this up. Evan, anything else we should let people know about before we wrap up tonight about what's coming?
Uh, Well, take a look at the rest of our tastings that are up now, of course, that Andrew kind of highlighted there. We do virtual tastings throughout the year, which a lot of you are aware of. This is probably the biggest thing we do for calories burned and scale of time that it takes to do it, and not just blog posts, but like for the amount of staff that it takes to put this together, the amount of hours and uh, paper cuts that Harmy and Sammy have collectively gotten with putting this together. It's definitely a group effort, and we couldn't do it without the KWM staff helping get this to the finish line.
Mhm.
And we couldn't do it without you guys as well. This we've talked about it in past tastings, and maybe we didn't highlight it enough in the 2025 edition. But it is you guys are the reason that we get to do this. This is something that would be this quirky little hobby, and we wouldn't sell much if it wasn't for the customers. So thank you guys for
Mhm.
buying into this and joining us for the ride because this is sort of like for myself and I think for Andrew as well, sort of like uh, a way for us to re-energize throughout December.
Mhm.
It can be long days and really busy at the shop, and there's a lot going on that you're trying to stay on top of, but doing this for an hour and a half every 5 days is just, it feels great.
Well, it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun, and it's nice to see some friendly faces and try to stay on top of the banter in the chat, which can be almost impossible at times.
Yeah.
But here are the results from tonight. So we'll start with first favorite whiskey of the night. And look, Caol
Mhm.
Ila, followed by the Benromach, followed by the Craigellachie, followed by the Glenturret, followed by the Bridgeland, and everybody got a vote. So you got to love that. That
Very
tells you something
nice.
about the range. And then second favorites, Benromach 2005, followed by the Glenturret, and then a tie between the Craigellachie and the Caol Ila. So good
Mhm.
results there. Now on to the overall range. People's
Yeah.
favorites tonight. Now let's see. This is for the whole range. Well, Walter's Choice,
Wow.
that looks like a number that's going to be hard to beat. It is,
Yep.
and look at this. It's Walter's Choice, followed by the Caol Ila, followed by the Benromach, I think followed by uh the Port Askeg, if I'm reading this
Yeah.
right, in number 4. So great showing. And that Linkwood looks like it might be number 5. Just
Mhm.
checking to see if anything else. I think the Linkwood's number 5. So there you go. Those are some pretty good results. Uh
Absolutely.
yeah, strong showing for the Kensington Wine Market casks. 4 out
Yep.
of 5 of those. Now, I think what I would just like to add to that, looking at this, is that when we put those in there, we try to be very purposeful and not overload it. We're not just trying to shove
Yep.
exclusive stuff down your throat. We want there to be a balance. So we try to put in about 5 of them, 5 or 6 in the calendar, and then we leave it at that because we want to showcase other things too. But I mean, there's a reason why we bottle these casks. It's because we think they're exceptional. And what's amazing is how well they stood up in a otherwise very cool lineup. Many of those are young. Like the Linkwood is a young whiskey. That Teaninnick in number 5 is a fairly young whiskey too, but they showed really, really well. And
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
really cool. Uh, Question number 4. Uh, the bonus question, that's more of a they email you, I believe. So there's
Yeah.
nothing more to really answer about that. But those are the results. I think they're incredible. Evan, do we save the results? Are you able to find these results after the fact? How does that work?
Yeah, they do come up with recording as well, so I can try and save those
Okay,
results. And
there you
those that
go.
have written long form, I think there are a few of you that put in some stuff on that. I can look at that as well. I'll try and save that. But again, feel free to email Andrew and I your comments. I mean, it's Kensington Wine Market, so no guarantees that we're going to change anything on anybody's behalf. But we definitely take stuff in and talk about it. And uh, we've been doing this for 13 years as a company now, but and we've been doing the virtuals for 4 or 5 years now as a company. There's still stuff we can learn. And just like the bingo cards, there's always stuff that we can sort of try and add on or change in it. So we're happy to take input where possible, and it might even just give us new ideas on things too, which is always great.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I'm just reading through the comments in the chats. Absolutely love it. Love the people that tune into a tasting or two, or those that
Yeah.
turn into all of them. We really enjoy that. And we know that like the reality is for a lot of people, you get this and you don't have time to tune into the tastings or they're not convenient.
Yep.
Or you watch them later on and that's all fine. But for those of you who make the effort to tune in and comment, it's very meaningful to us. And echoing on something Evan said earlier, you know, I kind of am like the crazy guy with an idea that had the idea to do this. And I'm like, we're going to do this, and here's what we're going to do. And then Evan does all the hard work for the blogs and feeds the information to Natalia, who does all the daily posting, which also takes a significant amount of time
Yeah.
to put all of that up onto our Instagram and our YouTube pages. And then, of course, Harmony and Sammy, and then to a lesser extent, other people within the shop who end up having to fill the bottles, label them, over tighten the lids, et cetera, et cetera, fill them into the boxes. It's a lot of work, but as you said, Evan, I mean, this is something that we do that no one else is going to do because of the time
Yeah.
involved, and because we know we can buy these things from people and put them out there, but they're never going to be as good as we want them to be. And
No.
we do this because we want to put out a better product, and I think that's what we've tried to do, and hopefully people have felt that, and I think based on the chats they have. Well,
Yeah.
listen, Evan, I think this is where we should call it for the night, for the
Yeah.
year. This is our last tasting of any kind until next year, which is only a few days away. But Evan, as always, a big thank you to you and for doing the tastings
Yeah.
with me throughout December. I want to wish all of you a very happy new year. Wish you all the best in 2026. And hopefully, we'll see you on some tastings next year, possibly on this again next fall. But until then, I hope you all have a great night and all the best in 2026.
Absolutely. Hope everybody continues to enjoy their holidays.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. Take care.